France gives the world a big puzzle. It's a country with lots of money, amazing culture, and a long, important history. Its food, art, and ideas have shaped the world for hundreds of years. But this country also has money problems that just won't go away. We've seen slow growth, lots of people without jobs, and a huge amount of government debt. The story of its slow economy has become a common, almost normal part of what France is known for. This video will break down the main facts about these money problems. We will look at why these numbers are the way they are. Most importantly, we will share clear, useful ideas that could help the French economy become much stronger. The difference between what France could be and how it's actually doing is huge. On one hand, you have a very smart workforce, great roads and buildings, and world-famous companies in things like planes, fancy goods, and energy. The good life, helped by strong social support and excellent public services, makes many people jealous. This is the France that tourists and fans see. On the other hand, there's the France that money experts and its own people see every day. First, let's look at the main way we measure how healthy an economy is: gross domestic product, or GDP. For most of the last 10 years, France's economy has grown very slowly. While other countries in Europe and around the world often had stronger numbers, France has often seen its yearly growth stay around a small 1%, sometimes even lower. This slow growth is a big deal. It means the economic pie isn't getting bigger fast enough to create enough new jobs truly make people's lives better or handle the country's money problems. For a modern, advanced economy, such low growth is a sign of hidden weakness and a warning that the engine isn't working at full power. Next, we look at the job market, where things look especially worrying. People not having jobs in France has been a constant and painful problem, especially for young people. For years, the country's unemployment rate has stayed stubbornly higher than the average for the Eurozone. Youth unemployment often reaches very high levels, with a lot of young people under 25 unable to get their first job. This creates a risk of a lost generation of workers who miss out on important early work experience and learning new skills. Also, long-term unemployment remains a deep problem, meaning that once people lose their jobs, they find it incredibly hard to get back to work, which makes their skills and spirits go down. Another very important sign is government debt. The French government has a huge system to help its people, offering lots of public services, pensions, and healthcare. While these services are a main part of how France helps its people, they cost a lot of money. One of the biggest long-term pressures on the French economy is how its population is changing. Like many rich countries, France has an older population. Each year, more people retire. Fewer young workers join the workforce. That change puts a huge strain on public finances. More retired people rely on Social Security and public health care paid by current workers. With fewer workers supporting more retirees, the tax burden on workers and bosses rises. Higher tax burden slows economic activity and hiring. Second, businesses aren't investing much, especially in new technologies and modernization. Complicated and strict rules can make companies avoid risks. Labor laws are famously complex and can make hiring and firing expensive and legally risky. This discourages especially small and medium-sized firms from hiring or buying equipment. When companies delay updates, their capacity to produce drops. Machine software, ways of making things. Third, the setup of taxes and social charges puts a heavy burden on workers. The tax wedge, the gap between employer cost and worker take-home, is very high in France. Large Social Security payments from employers and employees cause this. High payments act like a tax on jobs, making hiring expensive. This especially discourages hiring low-skilled workers. This especially discourages hiring young workers. Fourth, there's a mismatch between education and today's job needs. Higher education is strong in places, but training and apprenticeships lag. Digital technology, green energy, advanced manufacturing. Many young people graduate without practical skills employers need. Numbers like GDP growth and unemployment rates can feel distant. To understand how they really affect people, think about someone like Marie, a made-up but typical 28-year-old living in the suburbs of Lyon. Marie graduated 6 years ago with a master's degree in hotel management, a field she loved. She imagined a steady career, maybe one day running a small hotel or starting her own little bed and breakfast. The truth has been much harder. Her career so far has been a mix of short-term jobs, seasonal work, and frustrating times of being unemployed. Each job lasts for a few months. And then it's back to updating her resume and dealing with the paperwork of the unemployment office. This unsteady work life has big effects on Marie's personal life. She lives in a small, expensive apartment and finds it impossible to save money. The dream of buying a home feels impossibly far away. Without a permanent work contract, a CDI, she finds it hard to get a loan or even secure a long-term rental agreement. She wants to take more classes to learn new skills, maybe in digital marketing for tourism. But the cost is high and she's scared to take on debt without the promise of a steady income. To make its economy strong again, France needs a clear and practical set of changes. First, and most important, is the need to encourage businesses to invest. The government can do this by making tax rules simpler and offering special benefits to companies that invest in new machines, digital tools research and development. For example, allowing faster write-offs for new equipment would let companies subtract the cost of new gear from their taxes more quickly, making such investments more appealing financially. This would directly encourage France's industries to become more modern, leading to the productivity gains that are essential for long-term growth and higher wages. Second, a careful but firm change to the job market is necessary. The goal should be to reduce the difference between highly protected permanent jobs. This can be done by making labor laws simpler and reducing the paperwork and money burdens that come with hiring new employees, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. For instance, lowering social charges on the first few thousand euros of a salary would make it much cheaper to hire low-skilled workers. Creating a single, more flexible employment contract that slowly builds up protections for workers could also encourage companies to hire permanently instead of relying on a cycle of temporary staff. Third, France must really focus on education and job training that directly matches the needs of today's economy. This means growing high-quality apprenticeship programs with private companies, making sure that young people can earn money while they learn valuable, in-demand skills. It also means changing the university system to have closer ties with the business world. We started by noticing the puzzle of the French economy, a rich, advanced country held back by deep-seated, long-standing problems. As we've seen, the important signs point to a clear diagnosis. The slow growth, high government debt, constant unemployment, especially among young people, are not random bad luck. They are the expected results of an aging population, low business investment, a heavy tax and rule system, a mismatch between education and the needs of today's workforce. These challenges have been building for decades, and they have caused real human costs, limiting chances for a new generation. However, a diagnosis of trouble is not a sentence of certain decline. France has huge hidden strengths, a very skilled population, world-class industries, excellent roads, and buildings a strong history of new ideas. The challenge is to unleash this potential. The plan for recovery isn't a mystery. It involves a clear, organized strategy focused on the basics, encouraging investment through smarter taxes, making the job market more open and flexible, aligning education with future jobs, and putting government money on a stable path through careful, slow changes. With bold action and a shared goal, this great nation can make sure that its economic future is as bright as its cultural past.